you for calling the ASMR Solutions Hotline. For service in English, please press 1. Pour le service en français, appuyez 2. For anxiety, press 1. For depression, press 2. For insomnia, press 3. For refreshing REM sleep services, press 1. For quick fix nap time services, press 2. Your call may be recorded for quality and training purposes. Please hold while we are transferring you to one of our available representatives. Thank you for calling the ASMR Solutions Hotline. My name is Mint, and I see that you're having some trouble with insomnia. Is that correct? Yes, I personally know that feeling all too well, so I'd be more than happy to help you tonight. May I just ask you, is this your first time calling our services? Okay, not a problem. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a bit of a file for you. That way we'll be able to keep track of your call history as well as what sort of things worked and didn't work for you. And so in the future we'll be able to best service you. All right, great. So may I first please have your full name? Okay, thank you. And how do you spell the last name? Okay, great, thanks. And may I please have your phone number with the area code? Okay. And what would be your date of birth? Alright. 19. Alright, great. And how much caffeine do you drink in the run of the day? Okay. Fair enough. And what do you do for a living? Yes, we do like to ask those sorts of questions as they can tell us a bit about what a person's stress might be like, what their work-life balance might be like, and that way we can either include or eliminate some variables in treatment. Okay, thank you. And where are you currently attempting to sleep right now? So that being like a bed or a couch or at a desk? Okay, thank you. And when you sleep at night, do you sleep alone? Do you sleep with pets? Do you sleep with someone else? Okay, thank you. Alright, this next question you don't have to answer if you don't feel comfortable doing so, but do you have any sort of ongoing medical conditions, whether they be physical, mental, anything like that? Okay, thank you. And do you take any medications besides things like supplements? Okay. Alright, thanks. Okay, so now that your profile is all made, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to offer you a couple of troubleshooting solutions. And so what I mean by that is I'm just going to walk you through a few things that might assist you with helping you get to a more relaxed state so that you can fall asleep better. That being said, I will say that if this is something that is more chronic, then I do heavily advise that you seek a medical professional, such as a family doctor, and they would be able to assist you with getting exactly what you need. Now, they might suggest that you pick up something like melatonin, which you can get at your local drugstore. I personally know a lot of people who take it, and they say it works wonders. Or they might prescribe you something like a sleeping pill. Now, I've taken a sleeping pill myself before, and I will say, as effective as it is, it can be rather intense. It works really well at knocking you out, but it won't necessarily keep you down, if that makes sense. Also, there can be a bit of an unpleasant aftertaste, so that is something to consider, though if you can choose a less extreme route, then that would probably be ideal in your circumstance. So going forward with the call, what I will be doing is I'll just be providing you with a couple of ideas of things you can do in your daily life, and things that you can even do right now in order to help you reach a more relaxed state naturally when it comes time to sleep. Now that being said, if at any point during the call it sounds as though you've fallen asleep, so if I hear a faint snore over the phone, or if you stop answering my questions altogether, then out of respect for you, I will terminate the call. Okay, so let me just look at my references. Okay, so the first suggestion I have for you is one that I'm sure you've heard of before. and that would be to engage in exercise on a daily basis. Now, not only is it good for sleep because it tires you out, but it's also very good as a relaxant as well. It can be very cathartic and allow you to release a lot of emotion. Now, I myself, I prefer strength training. That being said, aerobic training and yoga are especially advised. They can increase your stamina, they can increase your flexibility, but also they can be very simple to do as well. Typically, from what I've heard, any kind of exercise that elevates your heart rate even just a little bit is beneficial for you. So things like a slow walk, while it's nice, aren't typically ideal. That being said, a very light jog or something to that effect is a better option. Now, I would suggest doing exercise for at least an hour a day. That being said, anything is better than nothing. So that's my first suggestion for you. Now, do you think that'd be something that you'd be willing to try just to see how that goes? Okay, great. I'll just take a note of that in your file. And that way, if you call us back in the future, we can ask you how that went, and we'll be able to adjust accordingly. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to offer you is actually something we can do right now, and it's going to be a guided breathing exercise. Now, breathing exercises are highly effective at essentially distracting yourself from any particular anxiety that might be going on inside of your brain. So think of the brain as like an overactive child. It wants to do everything and anything and nothing all at the same time. If you give it a task that's seemingly meaningless, all the chaos just stops and the child will hyperfixate as it's focusing on that one task and nothing else. And so that's basically what we're going to do with the brain. So what I'll ask you to do is to just join me. We're going to inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 2, and then out for 4, okay? So just follow my lead, and then afterward I'll let you do it on your own, okay? So let's begin. Just inhale, hold for 2, and exhale. All right, and again, inhale, hold for 2, and exhale. All right, this last one I'm going to do with you. Inhale, hold for 2, and exhale. So while you focus on your breathing, I'm just going to move on to the next point. One other thing I would suggest looking into are videos called ASMR videos. Have you ever heard of them by chance? No? Okay, that's perfectly fine. So what an ASMR video is it's a video that focuses heavily on certain sounds that might come across as more relaxing, or certain situations that would be perceived as being very comforting to the listener. Now, there are many different types of videos, so some might include listening to someone talk with a lot of enunciation and cacophonic sounds, or the same sort of idea but with listening to particular objects that have that same sort of cacophony to them, things like tapping on a glass or typing on a keyboard, something like that. There are some alternative types of triggers as well. So a person's ASMR trigger might be seeing a very gentle light, or watching someone do something very intently, or even just seemingly interacting with a person who really cares about them. Sometimes these ASMR triggers happen in a sort of artificial, fabricated scenario, but sometimes they also happen unintentionally in real life. So things like going to the hairdresser, or maybe listening to someone speak very softly, things like that. And this is definitely something to explore, as it can be quite vast. So people who make these videos, also called ASMR artists, they have their own sort of styles and methods of doing things. So what might work for one person might not work for another, or one person's way of doing something might elicit one response, while the same thing being done by another person might elicit a different response. It's all highly variant, and triggers can again come not just in an auditory form, but even in a visual or kinesthetic form. Now, do you think that would be something you'd be willing to look into and do a bit of research on? Nope. Okay, no, that's perfectly fine. Frankly, it's not for everyone, so I totally respect that. I'm just going to take a note here to say that you refuse that level of troubleshooting. Alright, but if that does change in the future, just let me know. Okay, and alright, so the last thing I will offer you tonight is going to be a guided walkthrough of Zen meditation. Now, Zen meditation is of course associated with the Zen Buddhist religious practice. That being said, it doesn't necessarily have to have religious affiliation in order to take part. Now, this procedure was actually taught by a Zen Buddhist master who had visited my university, and it's incredibly easy. So what I would ask you to do is to first sit with your legs crossed or with your feet firmly planted on the ground. Then what you'll want to do is you'll want to keep your back straight, your head up, shoulders back, chest open, but keep it very relaxed as well. You shouldn't feel tense, but you should feel upright. Okay? And then what you'll do is you'll keep your eyes open, but keep them about half shut. So let your eyelids droop just a little bit and look about 45 degrees down toward the ground. Alright? And then the last thing you're going to do is you're going to take your hands, you're going to take your dominant hand with palm side up and put it in your lap, and take your non-dominant hand and place it palm side up into your other palm. And then what you'll do is you'll take your two thumbs, and your two thumbs should be touching almost like you're forming a triangle. Now when your thumbs are touching, it should be just gentle enough that it would hold a piece of tissue paper between them, but the tissue paper could be easily slipped out. Okay? And then all you're going to do while you're in this position is just breathe the same way that I had taught you earlier. So that guided in for 4, hold for 2, out for 4. Now, while you're sitting in this position and focusing on your breathing, you're going to want to do two things. The first thing is that you're not going to want to hyperfixate on anything that's going on, and you're not going to want to try to actively be thinking about anything. So, as you're doing this, don't be thinking about last night's sitcom. If something happens in the world around you, just keep a clear mind as you're doing this exercise. The second thing, however, is that you also don't want to try to ignore anything in your environment. So what I mean by that is, if you do hear a sound, you don't have to try to forcibly block it out and to kind of repress it as if it weren't there or as if it were something negative. Okay, so let me give you an example. I'm going to take this glass of water, okay, and I'm just going to pour it into this other glass. Now, as you're doing this exercise, don't actively think to yourself, oh, there's water being poured into a glass. Where's it coming from? What's its temperature, etc. But also don't sit there and think to yourself, oh, there's nothing going on. I can't hear anything. Just sit in your environment and be, and just accept that as a part of the reality that you're currently in. So the water is a part of your experience. It's a part of the world that you are living in. But it's not something that you should focus on or deny. It's just there. I'm sorry, could you please repeat that? I couldn't hear you if you said anything. Oh, okay. Thank you for calling ASMR Solutions Hotline. Sweet dreams.